It's been a while since I've done one of these kinds of videos, one without gameplay and with my voice too. But I got not really a request, but I got kind of an idea for a different kind of video that's, besides just raw footage of one of my runs. It'll be a tier list of all the player cruisers from page 1 through 13, excluding page 14, 15, and 16, which would be the unique cruisers, vanilla cruisers, and the page 16 ships, the achievement ships, rather. This will include, well, you can see here, this is about, about like 222, something around that. There's a couple of repeats, but that's just how the tier list is made. There's a lot of ships to go through here, and hopefully I can do this kind of, maybe not super quickly, but hopefully I want to aim under an hour and a half for all these. That's a little ambitious, but we'll see how I do. Yeah. So as I said before, this is going to be different from my usual other kind of content. There's going to be no. Obviously, I'm not going to be playing any kind of FTL. I'll just be talking about these ships and whatever. So yeah. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh, that's right. I'll be ranking these ships with two benchmarks. The first benchmark, which I think is the primary one, is more. I'm trying to find a good wording for this because it makes sense to me in my head, but I'm trying to good way of paraphrasing it. The ships will be ranked based off how early does it take for them to stabilize, or in other words, how much scrap does it take for them to snowball well enough. For example, there's a couple ships in this list that need a shield system. They need good weapons. They need more crew. They need all kinds of stuff to make them a more effective ship. While some other ships in this list will need probably 50 or so scrap to get hard light bypass or get a clone bay, and GG, you pretty much win the run. So that's one thing to consider for these. And then the second consideration would be kind of overall, how does this ship play? Besides just, okay, well, in Sector 2 you have X amount of gear. It's also a consideration of, okay, what does this ship actually start with? How good is this ship's gimmick? Without lack of a better term. The reason why I want to do it with those two kinds of benchmarks is that I feel like it's a little hard to rank ships in a grand scheme of a run, especially with 200 different ships to go through here. Is because at the end of every run for a multiverse, for a multiverse victory, an average one, you're pretty much using the same setup across all runs. For example, you're using missiles, using boarding, hacking, cloaking, and maybe drones. So you're pretty much revolving on the same setup for all ships. Maybe there's a couple different ones that start with some other weird gimmick, but majority of these ships, I'll say 90% of these ships pretty much play the same way. They just start and play in the mid game a little bit different. Obviously something like Alt MFK compared to Ancient B. Just two items I could think off the top of my head. But regardless, like I said before, I hope this doesn't take too long because the attempt I did at this before, this took 2 hours, but this time I'm a bit more prepared. I mean, not really rehearsed, but I feel like I got a better bearing on how I rank these ships, so I also got some water to keep my throat from drying out, but okay, enough delay. Without further ado, I'll get to ranking these ships. So hopefully it doesn't take too long, but we'll see. So to start off, we have Revolutionary A, what's it called? Well, I guess just the Revolutionary Cruiser, Occam's ship, I suppose you can call it. So this ship it starts with 3 crew, 2 leeches, a vamp reed, no augments. You have 2 good board support weapons, and a 4-tile teleporter. So the immediate problem with this ship is you have the leech crew, and leeches are they're not very good crew. I mean, obviously they're better than nothing, and in the early game they're actually okay, to board using them, is because the strongest crew they can possibly roll is something like a Mantis or a Free Mantis, which would, obviously just obliterate leeches with only 90 HP and no other combative skills. However, ships in the early game, especially Sector 1, they never have more than 3 weapon power. I don't even know if they have a system that's more than 3 power, like, shields 1, drones, like a life support, whatever you want to compare it to. So essentially, if you just put 1 leech in the weapon system, and if they have like 2 or more weapon power, that's half their offense just gone. So in that sense, the leeches are actually okay, but they still can't really win fights on their own because the humans with 10 less HP, and they just do a power drain. So like I said before, like early game they're fine. Like you can use them for the first 2 sectors, and obviously use them if you have nothing else to, if you don't have any other crew. But they fall off pretty quickly eventually, and overall they're just kind of ass crew. The Vampweed is very good though. The Vampweed's a pretty strong border, like just by itself, but then you pair it with other kinds of damaging crew. Like for example, if you have like a Vampweed, a bunch of Mantis, the Vampweed is actively debuffing, well, not actively I should say, but passively debuffing the enemy crew in the same room, meaning your Mantis having even easier time killing off the crew. So I feel like the ship definitely snowballs pretty well, but the early game is actually pretty awful. You do have 2 good border support weapons though. I'm not sure if I already said this, but you have a Breach Bomb and a Pegasus. The Breach Bomb is very good. The Pegasus is it's okay, I suppose. It's not amazing, but I don't know. It's better than nothing. It's everything on the ship. It's better than nothing, but it's still not great. So, like to start with, I should say. So I'll probably put this like either B or A tier. I feel like B just because, while it is, again, it snowballs pretty well compared to these other ships coming up. It just doesn't start out strong enough. I think the one immediate problem that you can't look past is the crew basically. Like 2 leeches cannot kill most crew. You have to immediately board the Vampweed and 1 leech, if not both leeches, depending on your fight. And you don't really have much of a scrap head start besides selling off Pegasus. And again, you don't want to sell off weapons. It's just bad. It's just bad. What's it called? I don't know. It's not a good plan to sell things off to get more of something else. It's like a side grade essentially. So, in that terminology, it's I don't know. The ship could be better. It's still good, decent, but there's better ships here that are way more worthy of being an A and an S tier. Revolutionary B is pretty much the same as A. You have no medical system to start. You can buy one, obviously. And you have 4 leeches, 4 tile teleporter, chain flak, nothing else to sell off. It's pretty much identical to the A variant, except, no Vampweed, 4 leeches, so you pretty much are all in on the leech game. And nothing. You don't have really head start. I would put it in C tier, but it's definitely not that bad. It's comparable to something to like the Revolutionary A. So anyways, Revolutionary C, on the other hand, I would consider this an S tier, but yeah, actually it is probably an S tier, to be honest. So I don't really know how to explain this one, but it's identical to Revolutionary A, except it has even more gear. So you have the same crew, except one of your leech crew is the elite leech. Which I'll say for that is that if you're going to use any kind of leech boarding, you might as well use the elite leeches, right? Like, despite how ass they are, at least if you're going to use something that's inferior, use the best inferior setup, right? You have Clone Bay to start as well. You have backup DNA, which you can internalize. So from jump 1, you have border security. You have a good amount of stuff to sell off. You start with a Chain Iron and Rain Sealer, which both sell off for a good amount of scrap. I think like Rain Sealer is like 20 or so, and Chain Iron is like 30. So you basically get like a 50 scrap head start. You can get like shields too, pretty early on. You can get Hard Light Bypass, which pretty much guarantees you're safe for the next. Well, not safe, but you can kill any enemy basically with backup DNA and Hard Light Bypass up until like Sector 4, I would say, or whenever they start rolling medical systems. But regardless, it's exactly like A, except just way stronger starting gear. So yeah, it's just it's a direct upgrade with with lack of a better word. Ancient A is probably A tier. It's a gunship. No immediate weaknesses, obviously, and it's the ancient cruiser. You have Aether Tech, Harbinger 1 weapon, Mender drone, Harbinger drone, Harbinger 1 drone, I should say. Pretty good drone. Well, actually, one of the best, but besides that. Starting crew's pretty nice. You have 3 obelisks, or obelisks, however you want to say it, and 1 cognitive. And you have an artillery, which... Artillery is not really good. Artillery is a pretty shit system, but the ancient artilleries are pretty okay as far as the artilleries go, so you can't really be that mad at it. It's pretty much a gunship. You can go boarding because you have a 3-tile teleporter if you buy it. And, yeah, so overall strong ship. You also still have clone base, so, just an additional, another piece to it. Ancient B, probably an S tier. So, it's pretty much like the inverse of A. Well, maybe not inverse, but you basically start with all in on boarding with your 3-tile teleporter, resistant, and you start with an advanced cognitive, obelisk royal, and obelisk, well, just a regular obelisk. You do not have shields to stop, but you have the ascended super shields, which is a 10 hit point Zoltan shield. You have a director drone and a royal payload. So the only thing you need for this ship is a clone bay, and I suppose a shield system if you care that much, and you pretty much win. Because the royal payload is, if payload was the best weapon, well, it is the best weapon. Royal payload is identical, except it's one less power, and it takes, what is it, 2 or 3 seconds sooner. It's 2 to 3 seconds faster to charge, so it's just a direct upgrade. Especially for, like, a normal multiverse of victory. The royal payload has fire chance instead of breach chance, and fire is, with boarding, fire strats is much, I think it's much more reliable. Although breaches are still okay, it's just, I don't know, fire helps more often than not. So yeah, pretty easy S tier. I mean, just get clone bay and you win the game. So ancient C, same as ancient A, kind of. It's pretty much a gunship. Well. It's almost a gunship. You don't have actual gunship weapons, but you do have a setup that will eventually lead into a gunship. Like, in other words, you have 2 weapon slots, you have 4 drone slots, you have 2 plasmas as your weapons, and you have 2 directors, 1 royal atomizer and 1 royal mender. So for the early game, you're obviously just using the royal atomizer and crew killing pretty much every ship up until about sector 4 or 3, whatever. And you do eventually go gunship. Not right away, because obviously the atomizer is plenty on its own. Even a non-royal atomizer would probably still do just fine. But, obviously it has to be royal, so it's, pretty good. The reason why it's not S tier is obviously because, it's not S tier material, and there are a bit more obvious weaknesses. Like, for example, there's no medical system. You have 1 cognitive. Again, it's got the artillery, which is, again, artillery is not a great system, but as far as artillery as far as this artillery goes, it's actually usable, so, I don't know. It's fine, I guess, I suppose. My previous ranking, I would put it in about B, but I feel like it's a little too harsh, because it's still a very good ship. It's just, it's a bit harder to play, you could say. It doesn't take much scrap to upgrade, but it's just harder to play, right? Because the ancient drones, the ancient crew drones, they don't sell for a lot. And the royal plasma, not royal plasma, not at all, excuse me. The plasma ones, they sell for a lot, but again, like, the same logic as these ships, like the revolutionary cruisers, you don't want to do side grades. You want upgrades to what you got, so. Plasmas are, they're fine the way they are. Angel A, it's a boarding ship, no shield system. Amazing crew to start, pretty much all boarders. Probably A tier, to be honest. Not S tier because it's a bit more it has some liabilities that make it a little weak. Med bay, for example. No shield system. Do have cloaking. You don't have much to sell off though. You only have an overcharger and a pierce drone, which they do sell for a decent amount of scrap, but not really enough to make up for the fact it's a mostly vulnerable ship. The Angel cruisers, all 3 variants, they only can get 6 crew. as well. That's one thing to keep in mind. So 6 crew compared to the regular 8 or so. So that's one thing to consider for the ship as well. But otherwise, I mean, you have your boarding team set up from jump 1. The Angel, the Mantis, and the Rock. I mean, obviously there's things that are better, but for jump 1, that's a pretty respectable boarding team. So I would say it's definitely A material, not S, because it's, you know, just not S material, but it's up there for sure. Angel B. It's a gunship as well. Not as well. It's a gunship. You have a glaive. You have much better crew with a slug, a Zoltan Peacekeeper, and the Angel. You have cloaking 1. Did I say glaive? Yeah, you have a glaive beam, whatever. And you have mind control. And the way you play the ship is that you have targeting jammer and emergency generator. So every fight for the early game, you're jamming their weapons and you're just using the glaive to kill them. Depending on what the enemy actually has, though, you could use the mind control and get crew kills, but I don't know, I wouldn't advise that. You're meant to be a gunship, and the mind control is, I don't know, I don't like mind control. Like, you know, if you follow my channel, you know how I feel about it. So, especially for a gunship that kind of needs a hacking or another weapon, mind control doesn't make up for that at all. So, again, a B tier. Reliable, I suppose. But it falls off eventually, like pretty quickly. Like I would say sector 3, if you don't have anything else besides the glaive beam, you are kind of deep shit. So I would be more wary. It's not like stealth B in vanilla, you know. My God, vanilla stealth B is horrible, but it's definitely not as bad. So I'd probably B tier. Angel C, it's mostly a meme ship. It is an actual ship you can play, obviously, but it's entirely fire strats. You have a piercing torch, 2 fire bombs, stealth weapons, and explosive replicator. So you're not hull killing any ship. Well, I mean, you can hull kill ships with fire, obviously, but you're pretty much crew killing every ship you come across. Very unreliable. Defense, no shields, only cloaking 2, pretty low level engines, I believe, like level 3 engines, which is not a lot, to say the least. At least fire strats, if you can survive the early game, you can keep crew killing with the ship. You just gotta get shields, get proper weapons. I will say you are able to sell off your augments, like the stealth weapons and the explosive replicator. You can sell those off to get better gear, so it does have like a scrap head start in that regard. But I don't think it really makes up for it. The reason why it's not C tier is, it's not, like, out of all these other ships coming up, it's probably not the most unreliable one. You can still mostly consistently win with this. Just don't get too many shit fights, and you should be able to win pretty often. Plus, you start with an Angel, a Rock Commando, and a Separatist. The Commandos are a good bit questionable, but the Separatist and the Angel are. I think they're pretty nice. Well, Separatists, obviously, but, you know. Oh, also Clone Bay, one thing to mention as well. Augmented A, probably another A tier. Not S material because it's, well, obviously not S, but it's a gunship. You start with the Carnage missiles, 2 conservative energies, 3 augmented crew and cloaking. No oxygen, though. That's one thing I should mention. But yeah, it's a pretty good gunship. The Carnage is very nice, although you don't want to spam it in every fight because it's a missile weapon, right? And Carnage usually doesn't really pair on its own, right? But it doesn't pair well on its own, so. Which is why you have the energy cannons. Basically, what you do for this ship is you try to use the Carnage as little as possible, because you want to conserve your missiles, and eventually you can go full missiles. But you know, as it stands, you don't want to like rush missiles. So I don't know if that really makes sense, but you can probably catch on. Augmented B, obviously S tier. You start with no medical system, but you have augmented boarding from jump 1. You have a cognitive, energy efficient rad flak, which is an okay weapon, I should say. Not amazing, but it's okay, I suppose. But yeah, it's augmented boarding, so all you gotta do for this ship is get Clone Bay and you win. Not much else to say. Augmented C, it's just like A, except you're all in on missiles because you have the ancient recycler, and you have 2 missile weapons. So yeah, you're pretty much dedicated to the missiles. I should say though that the augmented vessels or cruisers really, have a simulative plating, which is a repair arm, and augmented C has the plating as well as the recycler, which takes 15 scrap. So you do start with missiles, and missiles are very broken in Multiverse, but you have a really hard time getting enough scrap to, well, do the shit you want to do, like get shields, get, I don't know, other systems and whatever. So obviously an A tier, but definitely not S, because it's I don't know, it does take quite a few upgrades to get going, especially considering you can't get rid of your ancient recycler because you only have like 8 missiles to start, just so your missile weapons actually function. So you can't really get rid of your recycler unless you want to sell, like, obviously all of your gear off and then go to like a laser gunship. But again, like I said before, the concept of side grading just isn't that good of a plan, unless desperate times call for desperate measures. But again, side grades aren't a good philosophy to have, not for a game like FTL. Auto Cruiser A, another gunship. I'll probably put B. I would say I would put this in A tier, but it's compared to the other auto cruisers as well as the innovation cruisers, it's not the best, I would say. 2 Dirk weapons is okay. You do need your flak drone by the time you go against 2 shielded ships, though. Emancipation Grid is very, very nice. It's probably one of the best augments in the game, and if it wasn't locked, if it wasn't a locked augment, it would probably be the best. So, yeah, it's constant damage for your board. It's constant damage towards enemies on your ship, like a lot of damage. Depends on your doors level, which is obviously, you want upgraded doors anyway, just how Multiverse works. So yeah, pretty good, I would say. Not amazing, obviously nothing comparable to the A tiers as of now, but reliable enough. Autocruiser B is same pretty much, except for this gimmick is that you cannot install the systems that support life, so obviously oxygen, and I haven't tried it, but I believe you cannot install a medical system. But correct me if I'm wrong, but regardless, the gimmick is to not have organic crew. So you still have sealant, you got repair drones and anti-personnel drones. So the starting weapons is a little erratic though. It's a Hades missile, which is a very nice missile, but your second weapon is a Suari. So it's kind of weird synergy between a really good missile and a pretty shitty adaptive beam. So, it's a little weird to play, but it doesn't really take away from the fact that it's still an auto cruiser. So, there's no automated cruiser in this list that's below C tier. I'll say that straight up. It's just they're all viable enough. So, it's just how it works, because you don't really need crew that much for an auto cruiser, at least. Repair drone is probably plenty enough. Sealant obviously makes you, well, you can't get soft locked with sealant, so that's always a plus side. Auto C. This is a ship I was considering putting S in A tier, but it's probably still a B tier because, it's not really a true auto cruiser. You still have the auto cruiser benefits like automatically manning systems, but you have now an organic crew. The starting organic crew are actually pretty good though. It's a slug, human soldier, and a Zoltan. Human soldier obviously being a really good addition to your crew. Your starting weapons are okay. It's a energy efficient rad flak, like identical to the one in augmented B, but also a heavy laser. So pretty respectable offense, but the defense really sucks. You have no vents, you have no doors, and you don't even have emancipation grid, which is funny because before 5.3, before these ships were even in the game, Cura C or Innovation C was basically the gimmick of Autocruiser C with organic crew, except you were able to keep your emancipation grid. So all you had to do was buy doors, and you were essentially an automated cruiser that had organic crew as well as emancipation grid, cloaking, and a lot of other shit that made you just incredibly strong. So yeah, it was accuracy before 5.3 was pretty broken, but obviously they, out of all the things they couldn't tone down, they toned down the one thing that, I don't know, I guess makes sense in their heads, but regardless. So for this tier list, it's probably about the same power level as the other auto cruisers. Maybe a bit stronger than the B, but again, it's not A material, so it's just how it works. Bishop A, I would put an A tier. Yeah, I'll probably put an A. It's good enough. It's Mantis boarding from jump 1. Start with Bishop. It's a pretty awkward gunship with only 2 weapon slots and 3 drone slots. You don't start with drone control, but if you buy it, you get 3 slots. 2 weapon slots makes it a really weird gunship. Although you can just get kernels and or some kind of missile and, win the game like that. It's a burst laser 3 and a breach bomb. Start with cloaking. You start with shield system, but only at 1 bar, so you have to upgrade it to be, functional. Also, you also start with Bishop, Mantis, and NG. So obviously use the Bishop and the Mantis for boarding, and NG if you care to. What else is there to say? Layout is kind of nice, I suppose. And it doesn't take much scrap. You just need Clone Bay, get your shields up, obviously. And maybe a better weapon than Burst Laser 3. Because, yeah, the ship for something like Bishop A, all of your firepower is coming from your boarding team. Given that you only have 2 weapon slots anyway, so. My Bishop A run was pretty nice, though. I mean, I'm recording this on the 29th, but this will be uploaded probably sometime in April, if this video does see the light of day. So, by the time that's uploaded, this definitely should be uploaded. So, anyways, Bishop B, probably B tier. It's basically the inverse of Bishop A. A gunship, no teleporter, no Bishop crew. Then you actually have a Caesarian, NG Defender, and a regular Mantis. And you start with a energy efficient Fouchard and a light laser 2. So theoretically, you're able to damage ships with more than 1 shield layer, although not reliably, not reliably in the slightest. You do start with shield system though, so you can just get that up, get a shield system, a higher upgraded shield system, I should say. The crew kill potential is pretty nice though. You also start with stealth weapons. Again, I'm a little biased because you don't need stealth weapons. It's actually kind of bad to hold on to, especially if you can sell it and get something better, like a different weapon, for example. But I suppose it's better than, again, nothing. So, less reliable, well, less consistent because it's a gunship, and a pretty shitty gunship as well. 3 weapon slots. It's pretty hard to kill ships with more than 1 shield layer to start. And Fouchard is really, really slow. It's like 20 seconds. If you man it, it's 18. So it's slow as hell. So fights are taking a while. You don't have much hull to work. You have 25 hull to work with. You only have cloaking as your defense. So it's not that consistent, in my opinion. I had a good run with it when I uploaded that like many months ago, but I don't know. My perspective changed a little bit since then. So I would rank this higher, like maybe like if, a couple months ago, a couple months younger, I should say. It would be higher, but I don't know. Comparing to the other gunship, like full-out gunships in this list, it's definitely not the most consistent. So, Bishop C is pretty much Bishop A, except a bit weaker. Like more, it's got a bit better starting, but a bit weaker later. Like for example, only 2 tile teleported compared to a 4 tile. Your weapons aren't really great at border support. It's all about stunning. You do have Clone Bay though, which is Clone Bay is very nice. Like you don't have to transition to it eventually. You just have Clone Bay. I can't remember if you start with shield system or not. I believe you do, but regardless, you have to upgrade it anyway. So it does take a fair amount of scrap for it to get proper defense. You can sell off the stun bomb and the ion stunner to get, well, proper border support weapons. So I don't know. It's probably B tier, but my run with it was pretty effective. So I think it's definitely more consistent than Bishop B, but not as consistent as Bishop A. But again, if it's better than B, then it's not gonna be B tier. So, anyways, Brood B. Brood A. We're just saying the letter B over and over again. Probably C tier. You start with spiders. Probably one of the worst races in the game. Actually, not even spiders. You start with hatchlings. That's right. So you have to like you start with not only do you start with spiders, but you start with like the worst variant of spiders. You have mind control. You have pretty shit weapons. Pretty bad just starting gear. Like you don't have much to sell. You have FTL gem and fuel crate, but I mean those sell for like 15 and 20 scrap, like just enough for like shields too, barely. Shield like second layer of shields. I should rephrase that. But at least you do get 2 random roles for a pirate crew. So depending on the crew that you do get for the pirate crew, it can be a pretty okay ship. It does have increased crew capacity though. It's got 10 crew instead of 8. So late game it's definitely pretty nice, but early game it's pretty fucking hard to play, especially with hatchlings of all crew. But anyways, yeah, it's pretty bad ship, I should say. Not great. It's really inconsistent. I've only played it once before, and my god, I hated it. So, oh well, whatever. Brood B though is probably B tier. It's basically Brood A, except it's just more consistent. You have, I think you get 3 pirate crew instead of just 2, and you don't have to immediately play your spiders. You also have a bit more gear to sell. If you have a fire flak and fire bomb, you can sell a fire bomb. Maybe keep fire flak if you have absolutely nothing else to use. And what is it, like level 2 med bay, so you can get a lab and maybe do some funky boarding strats early on. Yeah, probably not a gunship, not really a full out boarding ship, but it can go either way. And again, its crew capacity is 10, so it allows for you to eventually snowball. Not quite like very early on, but eventually you can. Brood C is obviously A tier. It's again just like it's basically just a stronger brood ship. The gimmick is you're supposed to use a clone cannon and a spider crew, and like fire spiders at the enemy. But it's actually better if you just get rid of your spider, sell off your clone cannon, and go gunship. Maybe eventually go back to boarding because you have a clone bay to start, and if you buy a teleporter, you have a 3-tower teleporter. So eventually, you go boarding if you care to, but it's otherwise a gunship. Plus, it does start with some nice selling. You also start with backup DNA, as I forgot. That's right. So pretty much again, clone-based security, jump 1. It's definitely a decent thing to have. Cell A is probably A tier. I guess it's the weakest cell variant by far. Although it's pretty much a gunship, but you rely on artilleries. Funny enough, as much as I berate artilleries, the orbiter beams are actually pretty nice if you know how to use them. You start the Vindicator. You have 2 Sylvans and an Oban. The way I played the cell cruiser before was I used I bought a teleporter and did Sylvan boarding. Maybe it was ambitious, but I don't know. Maybe it was the right play for that run. But yeah, the thing with Cell A though is that shield system, if you buy it, is limited to 1 shield bar, and cloaking is limited to 1 level 1, which is a 5-second cloak duration. So, my opinion, I wouldn't care to buy shields because it's just 1 shield layer it's not respectable enough in my opinion. If it was 2 shield layers, yeah, I would definitely consider it, but just 1 is, I don't know, it doesn't really make up for it. And cloaking, I don't know, I think cloaking is fine, just even level 1. It lets you evade something with the additional 60% evasion. So I don't know. Oh, it's stronger as a gunship. Can go boarding, but I don't know. I wouldn't really recommend it. But regardless, you start 15 hit points of a super shield as well. Advanced merchant shield, I believe it's called. Cell B though is probably the best ship in the game. It's basically, it's the same thing as like Cell A, except you don't start with the artilleries. You don't even start with the weapon system, I believe. But you have boarding, and because you don't have the artilleries, you can get every system in the game. Every system. You can get drone control, you can get mind control, hacking, cloaking, temporal manipulator, clone bay, shields. What am I missing? Backup battery, everything. You get every system in the game. All of them. All 11, I think. Yeah, all 11. So, like you know, for lack of a better wording, Cell B is closer to like Sylvan Transport C than it is to any other ship in the game. So that, you know, you take it as you will, but it's yeah, it's a pretty fucking ridiculous ship, to say the least. You shoot off a medbay though, so I guess the one downside, hey, you have medbay, so I don't know, get Columbia and you win. That's it. Not even, just I don't know, just play the game with this ship and you win. You don't start with the super shield though. Should mention that. Cell C is probably another S tier. Cell C is kind of like Cell B, except you do have your artillery, so sadly you don't get every system in the game. Although, I should say for Cell B and C, you don't have any system limits, unlike Cell A. So, Cell C it's just a better Cell A. You start with Prime, you can use your Bean Portal and Prime self to get a bunch of Sylvan Ricks, or Shirilics, which I think Sylvan Rick is probably the best variant of Sylvan. He's got all the Sylvan stats, except he uses long-range teleportation, which means you don't even have to use the teleporter system. You can just use Rick boarding. So, you know, take it as you will, but it's a pretty ridiculous ship as well. Or also Clone Bay to start. So, Civilian A, probably another B tier. It's a gunship. You have well-rounded crew, well, humans, but you have well-rounded systems, I should say. All of them starting at level 2, which sounds kind of weird, but that includes your piloting doors, medbay, shields, weapons. You have a piercing heavy and a regular heavy. You still have shield charge booster and emergency manual, so you can sell those off, get shields too, maybe even another weapon, and just do gunship. You can get 11 crew on the ship though, which is, I think that's a pretty good, it's got 11 crew space. So, definitely a thing to consider for a ship like that, for a gunship at least. Boarding, I don't know, I mean, I wouldn't do boarding on a ship like that, but, maybe. If it came down to it, maybe. If I was desperate, rather. Civilian B is probably an A tier. The gimmick is that you don't have immediate medical system, but you do have a 4-tower teleporter and a medic crew, as well as a breach bomb, which is, again, insane border support. So you basically just get a clone bay with this ship, maybe get a better boarding team, and you win. Not much else to say for that ship. It's not as well-rounded as Civilian A, but it's definitely a bit more consistent, in my opinion. It's weirder to play, but it's more consistent, you know. It's boarding, so, you know. Boarding, not boring, but, you know. Anyways, Civilian C, probably another B, probably B tier. It's pretty much identical to Civilian A, except you got a bit better crew, mind control, which is kind of gross, but whatever. You have Clone Bay, Merchant Beacon, which is, I mean, like, it's an okay augment, which what it kind of allows you to do is at the exit beacon you can use it and just summon an immediate store, or just summon a store anytime you really want, rather. And you can pretty much sell off all your useless shit and just get better weapons, because your starting weapons really suck, like really suck. You got ion bomb, heavy laser, and conservative laser. The heavy laser is plenty good. But the ion bomb and conservative laser are so fucking slow. At least conservative laser, again, doesn't really need power, and ion bomb is better than nothing, but it's still kind of ass. Definitely not C tier, but not exactly A or B. Not exactly A, so. Guild A is probably A tier, though. It's a boarding ship, 2-tower teleporter, but you got an Artemis and a cloaking to start. Autonomous is a very, very good border support. And you actually have an elite you have a ranger, the elite clansman, and a regular clansman aboard. So that's pretty viable crew killing wise, but not the best actual boarding team because the ranger cannot sabotage, which is probably an argument you can make just to do double clansman boarding versus, well, just one ranger and one clansman. But overall, it's a very consistent ship. You know, cloaking, Artemis. Do have medbay though, one thing to consider, but yeah. Guild B is probably B tier. It's just a really shitty gunship. I mean, it's got flak 1, the 2-shot 1-power flak, and it's got the Corbin crew kill. So it's like a wannabe crew kill ship, but it's just ass because you don't have cloaking. You don't have any other systems. You only have 2 clansmen to work with, and the flak isn't reliably taking down systems. Like, for example, at the Sector 1 exit, if you're on Hard Extreme, the only way you can defeat the elite rebel is by crew killing him. Like, you know, you're forced into crew killing, which is, I don't know. I mean, I don't know about you, but forced into crew killing with dealing no system damage, I don't know. That doesn't seem really consistent to me, but I don't know. Maybe someone out there has a really good run with it. I personally hate this ship. Guild C, probably B tier. It's equivalent of Slug B from vanilla, except you have no real border support. You only have stunning weaponry and a med bomb. So you basically just get Clone Bay, get some kind of border support, and you snowball from there. So it's basically a boarding ship that just starts with less. So I don't know. It's just a more shit boarding ship, I suppose you could say. Well, the boarding ships are still good. So that's why it's B tier. It's definitely not C tier, but not exactly comparable to Guild A or any of these other boarding ships thus far. Coalition A is probably A tier though. Reliable boarding ship. Nyx is a very good missile. Well, it's a really bad Artemis. I shouldn't say really bad. It's a worse Artemis, but it's a missile, so it's a border support plus a missile weapon. Your starting crew is pretty okay. All of it's good except the leech. You just get rid of the leech with a better crew. You start off cloaking, no shields, but you can buy shields, obviously. You can get Clone Bay, and pretty much win. You do have a locked augment though, which is the pheromones, but at least it's pheromones, which I guess pheromones is fine. It's probably out of all like the locked augments associated with Slug, Mantis, and Rock, I suppose I'd take pheromones over rock plating. So, you know, yeah. Coalition B is probably about A tier as well. You have no locked augments. You have Clone Bay. You have the quote-unquote anti-coalition crew, which is Dustbringer, Shell, Crystal, and Free Mantis. That weird-ish synergy, but it works. You know, it's a Free Mantis and a Shell, so it's, you know, pretty good boarding crew. You have no locked augments, though. You have Zoltan Shield and synthetic pheromones and an energy cannon for one weapon, which is kind of weird, but you know. You use what you get. You use what you're given, rather. You can sell off pheromones. You can actually sell it off, and get a bit more scrap head start. You keep Zoltan Shield, obviously. Well, for the most part, you might be able to sell it eventually, but for the time being, you keep it. Clone Bay. Starting with Clone Bay is definitely a good positive. The reason why it's not S tier though is again it's a little bit less consistent, and it's more or less at the same power level as Coalition A, just in a different way. So Coalition C though is, I'm really tempted putting this D tier. In fact, I will put a D tier. This is probably one of the worst ships in the game. Where do I start? So okay, I guess I'll say the thing that's good about it. You have second layer of shields. Okay, cool, I guess. But you have 2 locked augments. 2. You have mind control, and your only weapons are crew kill. You can only crew kill with your weapons. You have a stunner, and a power, and what's it called? A conservative bio beam. I forgot what's like Pelta or something like that. It's so unbelievably shit. Like, my god, the shields do not make up for it at all. I think the most like berating part of it all is the audacity to have 2 locked augments, rock plating and slug repair gel. Like, holy shit! Like, I can't think of even worse locked augments. Like, maybe crystalline armor, maybe, but actually crystalline armor would at least allow you to hull kill a ship if you're willing to sacrifice hull. But my god, it's an awful ship. It's just inferior. You don't need mind control. You got your crew kill beam, which is, you know, useless of itself. You have nothing to sell besides your crew kill beam, so you can't even get weapons up properly. It's just such a shit ship. Oh my god. I played it like 3 times, and oh my god, I don't think there's been a ship that angers me as much as this one does. Maybe something like the Warlord cruiser or a Federation ship, maybe. But even then, those ships are better than this, so, you know. Anyways, Crystal A is probably B tier. Boarding ship, you have Crystal Charger, 2 Crystal Crew, Human, Rock. So, not the best, but, I don't know. I mean, I guess Crystal Boarding, it's obviously weaker than it is in Vanilla by a long shot, but it's Crystal Boarding. It can allow for some unique playing. Crystalline armor as a locked augment. It's a little bad, but it's not the absolute end of the world. It's not rock plating, so. Crystal B though is a direct upgrade from Crystal A. It's got 4 tower teleporter, Crystal Crew, a better crystal weapon, and Lanius, as well as low friction suits, which increases crew movement speed by I don't know, like 30 or so %. And you obviously just sell it off to get a scrap head start. I'm pretty sure it starts with medbay, which is kind of a downside, but definitely not too bad. Crystal C though, probably one of the best ships, comparable to something like obviously Augmented B. So it's crystal boarding, except you got a Sentinel, along with a regular crystal and a cultist, and you have Clone Bay. 2 tower teleporter, which is a little awkward, but the Sentinel with the crystal is very, very strong. Like, the Sentinel by itself obviously stacks charges on its own, but along with the crystal, that's very, very powerful. You start with a crystal burst, a fire beam, and I think a fire bomb, which is a lot of don't get me wrong, that's a lot of things to sell off. Useless shit. The crystal one is fine, I guess, but the fire beam and fire bomb. I mean, it doesn't make sense because you're using boarding to crew kill anyway. So who cares about fire strats? You know, at least with Crystal Crew. If you had Rock Crew, maybe you know. But again, it's got a scrap head start, Clone Bay teleporter, very, very nice ship. Definitely stronger than Crystal A, and probably more consistent than Crystal B. Cultist. Well, I don't know why I was putting on A tier. My God, it's not A tier. It's like a B tier. It's a gunship, really big. Like, the layout is huge on the ship, which is, you know, in common with all the cultist ships. You have an elite crystal burst and a Artemis. Artemis is a pretty really good missile weapon. The crystal allows for some, I don't know, playing around. You start with an amp energy, which you can sell off. Downside being, again, the layout and the locked augment, the rock plating. Cultist B is probably A tier though. It doesn't have an elite crystal weapon, but it's got cultist boarding. Cultist boarding is very, very strong. It's, I wouldn't say an alternative to like something like Mantis boarding, but it's when it's done right, it can be just as effective. So definitely an easier time, way more consistent than the A variant. So I'll put it in A tier. I think the one downside though is that it's medbay. And the cultist, at least again, like early on, the overpowering most crew, but it's still a little weird. It's a little weird to play, but anyways, cultist C is probably C tier. It's actually I'll put B tier. The layout is super ass, like really, really ass. You know, the gimmick of it, obviously, but again, it's still an ass layout. I guess you have an elite crystal charger though, so I mean I don't know. Do you have Clone Bay? No, you don't. Sorry, you don't have Clone Bay. You have medical stimulants in the med bay. You do have a Crusader and 2 cultists though, so the Crusader is pretty decent. You put the Crusader on piloting. You put the Cultist on like weapons and engines, for example. Yeah, definitely not like a C tier ship. I would say, but it's weird to play. I'll say. Innovation A, probably B tier. It's basically like auto A, except like weaker and stronger in a couple aspects. It's weak. Its starting equipment is a bit weaker, but you can sell off your starting equipment to get better gear earlier on. So it snowballs better. Plus the you start with a bit more. You start with better system upgrades. Like for example, you have like a shield buffer. You have like a weapon buffer. You actually have good crew drones. I think it's like what, 2 maintenance drones compared to, well, just one on the auto cruiser. So it's definitely not too shit. It's an ion and a flak weapon and the surge controller, which you get rid of the surge controller. You do not use any kind of surge controller. Well, besides the slot B, but we're on slot A right now. So, but yeah, you just go gunship and win the game as a gunship. Kira B though. Probably A tier. It's just like it's actually identical to as it was beforehand. Is it? Yeah, it was. Except, was it? No. Sorry, I got them mixed up. It's not like the Kira B from like before, but it's got a surge controller that lets you crew kill with using like a firestorm. The firestorm surge controller is actually probably the best surge control. It's actually viable enough to play. You obviously sell it eventually, but it's okay enough. Opposite from the Kira A though, you actually start with kind of weak system points though. You only like level 1 engines, barely shields level, well, 1 shield layer. You do have cloaking though, which is okay. You have an anti-hull and a firebomb. You obviously get rid of firebomb because if you're crew killing, you're using the surge anyway. So you don't use the firebomb. But the anti-hull is it's a weapon you otherwise wouldn't have. So it's definitely more consistent than A for sure. You just gotta go gunship within time, and maybe get some luck. If you get some lucky crew kills along the way, your surge controller can actually be moderately helpful. Actually, it's pretty helpful in a sense that you sell it off for 32 scrap. But besides that, bleh, weird, gross. Kira C is probably same as Kira A. You get rid of your surge controller. I guess that the offense is a little bit better though. You don't have to absolutely use your surge controller. You can use the your charge stunner along with the Hellraiser drone, which is it's like a beam drone with anti-hull properties. So not the worst. It has less stuff to sell off though. It's got 2 weapon slots and 3 3 drone slots. So it's a bit awkward as a gunship, but it's reliable enough, as I like to say. So B tier, definitely not A, but not worse than the A variant. So Dustbringer A is probably an A tier ship. Dustbringer boarding, obviously. Clone Bay, Recycler Bomb, which is a very, very good alternative to something like a proper border support. It's actually maybe even better considering you use no missiles. Long ass cooldown, but for crew kills you're not worrying about the time anyway normally. So I think it's a pretty good bomb. You're not using missiles, so you're getting crew kills effectively without spending scrap constantly. Not scrap, sorry. Missiles constantly. I mean, I guess missiles kind of equate to scrap in a ways, but anyways, yeah, reliable ship. As part of my I really want to put Dustbringer B at same tier as A, but I'm sorry, it's just not as consistent. I mean, I would love to, but it ain't there yet. You do not start with any Zoltan shields. You do not have a shield system. You have cloaking and steel plating. Steel plating is like a beefed up titanium system casing, but you can sell it, which is very, really. Not, did I say very and really in the same sentence? God, what am I thinking? Anyways, you can actually sell off the augment, which is very good. I used it properly that time. It's very good. You can sell it off. Because it sells for 40, you don't have to keep it, And that 40 scrap can be put to something like, I don't know, something useful. I forgot the starting equipment. Oh, that's right. It's got a bomb, and it's got a 2 Dustbringers and a Martyr. The Martyrs are the elite Dustbringer, like a direct upgrade, pretty much. Yeah, it is a direct upgrade, from my knowledge. So, the only reason why it's on A tier, despite it being a little bit better in one way or another, it's just not consistent. So that's the problem. And again, for this tier list, when we're benchmarking from early game onwards, we need consistency here. So, sorry, not sorry, but that's how it works. Dustbringer C, B tier. It's you only get 1 Martyr. You do have Clone Bay as well as the backup DNA. Well, all the Dustbringer cruisers have Clone Bay, but this one has a DNA. Weird early game, but snowball well enough, and you might just have a pretty good run with it. Weird to play. Absolutely not A tier, but it's not worse than the B variant. So, Spectral A is probably B or A, probably B tier. A really weird gunship, but it's a gunship, so it's if you get the shield system and you sell off your what's it called, the Ghost Splitter augment. I forgot what's like Quick Split or whatever. You use it to get enough crude, but eventually sell it off. I think it's a 3-tile teleporter. I can't remember exactly, but I believe it's 3 tiles. So you can do ghost boarding, but I wouldn't really recommend it. Just do gunship. I guess the one reason why the ship isn't actually like a C tier is because you have the Burst Laser 3 along with a mini beam, or the Spetum beam, whatever you want to call it. And if it was just a Burst Laser, this would be a shit ship, like absolutely. But the mini beam actually allows for some interesting plays, considering you can like shoot shields down, use the mini beam, and you actually the Burst Laser 3 is it's really slow. So maybe not very slow, but it's not fast. So if it's not shooting before the enemy starts damaging you, it's slow. So Spectral B though is a pretty weird ship as well, but it's not really worse. I guess it's not worse. You saw 3 old heavy lasers. You saw the A shield system as well. Can get 3-tile teleporter, though I wouldn't really recommend it. Not for a ship like that. Oh, one thing I should mention: all the Dynasty vessels, the Spectral vessels, they can all have 12 crew capacity. So it's one thing to remember. I don't know though. It's just a gunship that starts out a little weird. You have some stuff to sell off. The Alpha Mare, the Alpha Mare though is a bad thing though. You don't want vagabonds on your ship. So unless you can control them somehow with like a med bay, or again med bay's inferior, so that's not a good thing to control them. But again, it's, I don't know, weird, but not horseshit. So Spectral C though is A tier. You start with Aether Shields, 2 pacifiers, which both sell off for 45 scrap. So effectively like a 90 scrap head start. You have Augmented and some other ghosts. I think you have Quick Splitters. I think you do. Yeah, you should have Quick Splitters. So you can go ghost boarding, because 1 Augmented alone is a little weird to play. You have Clone Bay, which is a very, very good thing to have for a ghost ship, especially considering your ghosts are just kind of weak from the get-go. Aether Shield is good though, because it allows you to get Aether upgrades, and it's just, again, Aether Shield is just nice to have anyway. It's pretty good defensive property considering you have nothing really else going for you at the time. Alt Bishop, or the Elite Bishop Cruiser, probably B tier, maybe. I'll put A tier. It's inconsistent, which is weird to say, but if you can snowball, get shields, and get other crew, it's probably one of the most devastating non-augmented boarding ships. And the reason why I say non-augmented, because it's obviously it doesn't include augmented right away, and it's the two bishops is like, I don't know, where do I begin? It's like two bishops controlled by a player. It's that's bonkers, but anyways.
No shield system. You have cloaking, level 4 teleporter, basic laser plus a repair bomb. So the immediate liability is obviously if you get shot in weapons and get fires and shit like that, it's a bad time. But all you gotta do is just get crew, get shields, maybe get clone bait just for your troubles, and yeah, it snowballs very, very well. I played it a long time ago though, so maybe if I try again, I might think differently. But you know, it's a good ship regardless. The Elite Coalition. I forgot how to say the acronym, but anyways, probably B tier. Good elite. No, sorry, decent elite, but it's inconsistent. And that seems weird to say considering I just ranked Bishop higher than Coalition. But I think the one thing everyone likes to forget, especially considering like something like the Elite Coalition, 4 crew slots, and you get like 2 shit elites to start with. Like that's just absurd. Like absurdly bad. I guess the one thing is you still have Clone Bay. You do get cloaking, no shield system, but you do get actual weapons. You get fire starter, neural laser, which is, I mean, enough. The Clone Bay does make up for some weaknesses, some otherwise crippling weaknesses. You get rid of your Ampere Leech right away. Not right away, sorry. Once you can get rid of it. The rock can stay, although I wouldn't keep it though. The rock isn't well rounded enough. I talked about the Elite Coalition Cruiser in my video I did about the Elite Coalition Cruiser, so if you want to check that out for more details, you know, please do. But yeah, I definitely not C tier, but it's not comparable to the other boarding ships. It's a little inconsistent, and 4 crew slots it's kind of ass. Plus the locked augment, it's also ass. So at least it's on Coalition C though. I'll give it that. So Sentinel Cruiser is probably A tier. It's consistent. It is consistent. The downside is no O2 to start though, and only 2 weapon slots. So it's not, again, it plays similar to like Bishop, the Elite Bishop or the Alt Bishop, except what's the except part? Oh, no oxygen and a bit weaker boarding, but 2 Sentinels and the SSGL. Did I say the crystal? The liberated crystals are. Yeah, that's pretty strong. Again, the weakness is gunship, but the weakness being you can't really gunship that well, but I think that's pretty easy to overcome. The Elite Dustbringer, or the New Order, it's comparable to Dustbringer A, and actually it's probably better, but not S material. You start off like really bad reactor, but you got backup DNA and Clone Bay, and on the New Order cruiser you can go up to level 4 Clone Bay, which is like what's a good terminology? Batshit crazy, but you know, anyways. Yeah, pretty good. The problem is obviously reactor. You don't start any weapons, so you're doing boarding straps with Dustbringers. So the first couple sectors, when you're dealing with like 3 or 4 crew, and your Dustbringers like immediately annihilate any crew of less than 135 HP, pretty good. But otherwise, it's, you know, it's a predictable cruiser. So, Cruising Reaper, or otherwise the Elite Dynasty Spectral Cruiser, probably A tier. It's actually a pretty. I'm not. It's not a shit elite, but it's not a reliable elite, I could say. You have Ghost boarding and Clone Bay, except the Ghost style of non-corp. Non-corp is not a good Ghost upgrade. People beforehand, I used to think it was a good upgrade because thinking, oh wow, my Ghosts are so good at sabotaging. Except if you think about it for a couple seconds, if I'm talking about sabotaging a ship, I'm not going to use Ghosts. I'm going to use augmented. I'm going to use shells. I'm not using Ghosts. And the early game is you don't want the point of the ship is that you're supposed to like send the Ghosts into like shields. They focus shields down, and then you kill the ship off with your beams and a level 4 cloak. But you don't want to do that. You want a crew kill with your Ghosts. You want to get extra scrap. You don't want to blow ships up when you can just teleport in and crew kill anyway. So you get rid of non-corp and you snowball. One thing to mention though is that you don't get the Ghost Splitter augment. So it's a little weird to play. This is the one ship that doesn't start with O2 that I actually probably would buy O2 on, simply just because I can support the other crew much easier. If you do buy shield system though for the elite spectral cruiser, you are limited to only 3 shield layers, which again, it's not a cell A, but it's 3 shield layers. It's 1 less than what you might be used to. So, one thing to consider when you I don't know, play it. Elite Harmony or just the Harmony cruiser, probably B tier. Actually, no, this is definitely A tier. This is a pretty good ship. Downside is no weapons. If you do get weapons, you only get 2 slots. You do start with Defense Scrambler. You start with 2 Energy Defenders. You start with Utility Bot Dispersal, which is like a Murder Bot plus a Med Bot, but the Murder Bot is what you want. You don't care about Med Bot, not in the slightest. But you do get 2 energy efficient, super energy efficient defense drone 3s, a beam drone and a guardian drone, as well as hacking. So, downside is you have no shields. What you do, you start with a shit ton of drone pods as well. So what you do for this ship is you pretty much get rid of most. I would keep 1 defense 3 just because it's basically just begging for you to use at least 1. But I would get rid of all the other drones, get shields, get actual weapons, and then just gunship along with hacking. Because if you have hacking plus defense scramble to start, really, really nice. You could say that for about the hacker cruisers, which are here, but we'll get there within time. Elite Federation, probably S tier. All you gotta do for this ship is you start with Zoltan shields. You have no shield system. We have cloaking. You have an artillery beam that does 2 damage, pierces all shields, compared to just 1 damage from a regular Federation artillery. But it can go up to level 5, which is like I think it's like a 7-second cooldown, maybe 9-second, and you can use your weapon system performance upgrades to make it even stronger. What else is there to say? Oh, you saw 3 Federation elites, a Peacekeeper, Orchid, and Soldier, respectfully. Pretty good. What else is there to say? Oh, you saw the anti-hull one, which is, I don't know, a weapon, I suppose. But yeah, you basically for this ship, you get shields, and you're gonna play the artillery. I feel like this is the one ship, the one ship I would heavily focus artillery on. Maybe like all MFK. I hate this soundtrack. Anyway, I don't know why I got sidetracked there, but anyways, yeah, respectable ship. Probably not really that unreliable of an elite ship. I guess you do start with kind of weak systems though. Like you have only engines 2, no shields obviously. Level 3 artillery. Before 5.3, the artillery was actually level 4, so it just costed 1 upgrade to get to level 5 and just annihilate every ship, even prime. But that's said and done anyway. Warlord is A for sure. Consistent, weird, awkward ass game, early game. But I think the run I did on Warlord should be posted within like, I don't know, 4 days from when I'm recording this, so you'll see how that run went. Pretty interesting ship. 2 warlords, 1 separatist, hardlight bypass, reconstructed teleport, and big vibe pheromones. But no medical system, no drones, no doors, no sensors, no weapons. Pretty much boarding. All you gotta do for this ship is get clone bay. Maybe a weapon just to help the Free Mantis. The killers, obviously, but again, border support is border support. What else is there to say? My nose itches for some reason. The Vagabond, which is probably... It's a weird ship, but I wouldn't say the... I'll put it A tier, just because it's placed similar to the Elite Spectral. Like it's stronger for sure, but it's got Vagabonds, and not only that, it's got Alpha Vagabonds, the worst of the ghosts. So Especially like the wraith and the mare. Oh my god, like that's just disgusting. Absolutely hate it. But anyways, your stuff Clombe, 4 tile teleporter. I don't think you still have cloaking. You shouldn't. No, you definitely don't. Weird gunship, but you will gunship on it for the first bit of the early game, and then eventually transition to boarding once you have, I don't know, acceptable boarding, I could say. Alt Knight, I mean, there's no discussion. It's probably one of the only elite ships that has no downside. There's not a single downside to this ship. Like let me just look this shit up like right now. Just so I can just show you what I'm talking about. Oh, that was my video. What is it? Alt Knight, here we go. You can't really tell by this picture, but there's no downside at all. There's no downside at this. I guess, hey, it doesn't have a clone bay. Oh, that's the only downside. You have a missile for your border support. You have 3 super elite slugs. Crew capacity of 9. 4 tile teleporter. I guess the second downside is slug repair gel. I suppose, but other than that, I mean, shit. I mean, I would say, like I said before, like Cell B was comparable to like Transport C. I would say Alt Knight is comparable to Cell B compared to all the other ships. So, I mean, take it as that as you will, but, you know, sorry not sorry. It's stupid broken ship, but anyway. Swarm, or the Elite Lanius. I'll probably A tier. You start with 3 scrap arms, no weapons. You only have 3 weapon slots to work with. But welders are a pretty good crew. A little weird to play ship side, but enemy ship side or boarding, pretty good. 3 scrap bombs is actually pretty nice. You don't keep all 3. I think you keep like 1 at the most. You sell off the other 2, maybe internalize 1 if you care to. Well, not directly internalize it, but like you get what I'm saying. Very, very fast early game. If you get a hotline bypass, you win. Like literally just win, because the Lanius can take apart any ship. Well, with border support, given they have a medical system. But auto scouts, beware, obviously. The welder ability is actually pretty nice. Slow as hell, but rapidly drain the oxygen, as well as heals himself. So I think the one really good ship, the thing about this is that normally Lanius boarding with like a clone bay is actually a little weird, because you can't really refresh your Lanius without like something like reconstructive teleport or just healing them with some other means. But with the Swarm Cruiser, you don't even need reconstructive teleport, at least right away. You can just use your abilities. You can just use the welder's ability after the fight, or even before the fight or during the fight, and just heal them as is. You don't really have to worry about conserving their health, which I think that's a really good bonus. Emperor, probably A tier. For the longest time, I hated the ship, but it's actually, I played it a couple times, and it's I'm not going to deny reality. It's a pretty good ship. You don't still have a medical system. We have a 4 tile teleporter. You have hotline bypass to start. You have hacking and 4 elite leeches, as well as 9 crew capacity. Is it 9? Yeah, it should be 9. I guess obviously the downside is no medical system. You can buy it. You can buy it. It's just you don't start with it. You get a clone bay, obviously. Elite leech boarding though is a little weird. Again, because leeches are ass, but you use what you're given. So probably A tier, just because it snowballs super well. Starting with hacking is a good alternative to border support. Less reliable, obviously, than vanilla. It's the best system, just in general. But for multiverse, it's a little weaker, because hacking is a little expensive to play because of defense scramble, obviously, and well, some of the crew in the game are just stronger than hacking. But hacking is still amazing. When hacking helps, it really helps. So that's all I'll say for it. not alternative, sorry. Alt Caesarian. It's identical to Bishop A, although it plays similar to Mantis B in vanilla. Well, it's actually identical to Mantis B. It's got the same gear, except no, the weapon system, it doesn't exist yet. You don't start with it, and it's only limited to 2 slots. We have 2 Caesarians, 1 NG. You start with Slave Masters, an external lab upgrade, which you can sell. And no weapon system, med bay. You have a boarding drone, which can help to kill auto scouts, and you have, I forgot if it's either a guard drone or defense. I think it's guard drone. So some missile support. All you gotta do for this ship is get clone bay, the weapon system, despite it being pretty shit, but regardless, really consistent ship. Not A tier, not S tier because it's not these ships. So whatever. EDC or the Elite Civilian, Elite Militia, whatever you want to call it. Probably I would put it A tier, but yeah, I'll put it A tier. I think as far as gunships goes, this is probably the prime example of what a gunship should truly look like. So the gimmick of this is you start with literally nothing. Well, actually no, you start with everything, but you have no way of really using it. You start with you can get 11 crew. You still have 2 Federation elites, 4 piercing heavy lasers, 2 piercing drones, 2 pierce laser drones, and that's only 2 out of the 3 slots you have, by the way. And you have nothing else but a battery. So what you do, you also have what's it called, magnetic arm and tracking flares, so some stuff to sell off. So what you do for this ship, obviously, is that you go to a store, sell off your piercing drones, maybe sell off one of your piercing heavies if you care to, and get rid of your magnetic arm if you need to. And tracking flares you can keep, but if you need the scrap, you sell it off. And you just get shields up, you get your piercing lasers up, and you just it's a gunship. It's super it snowballs it's probably one of the best snowballing ships. If you buy doors and sensors, it starts at level 2. It's a 4-tower teleporter, so you can play teleporter pretty effectively. I think I said it already, but you start with 2 Federation elites, the chieftain and the human soldier. Which I think I'd rather. I think out of all the Federation elites, not all of them, well, all 4 of them, I think I would pick those 2, the soldier and the orchid. Compared to something like orchid peacekeeper, like soldier peacekeeper, whatever you want to call it, whatever the combination is. But yeah, gunship. The first sector can be pretty dangerous, I should say, but if you can find an early store and just sell off the garbage and get shields up, get weapons up, yeah, it's a pretty beautiful ship to play. We got a lot of ships, but now we got NGA. Again, just like NGA in vanilla. It's actually maybe the layout's different, but like the ship layout. But you start with an iron weapon, a combat drone, and medbot dispersal. You get rid of medbot dispersal. You get better weapons. You go gunship. Not much else to say. NGB is probably the same way. You don't start with shields, but you start with enough to buy shields. So it kind of counteracts itself. You start with energy efficient halberd and a stunner, as well as 2 NG and 1 Zoltan. But you do have level 2 doors. So I was gonna say your anti-boarding it's not looking so great for these NG ships, but but you do have level 2 doors, so it's better than nothing, right? And as I said before, you start with defense drone, guardian drone, medbot dispersal, and drone arm. If you sell all 4 of those that I just mentioned, you can get shield system, as well as maybe even a better weapon besides the stunner, because you're using the halberd, but the stunner maybe is something better. NGC though, yeah, not much to explain for this ship. It's probably one of the most versatile boarding ships for a true ending. And maybe even just in general, obviously you don't use boarding for Nexus, but yeah, so I think it's only 2 weapon slots, 4 drone slots, but you start with a defender, a separatist, and a regular NG, and you got medbot dispersal and murderbot. So you are in level 2 med base. So you get shields up as fast as possible. You get some kind of border support. You get better boarding crew. Not just better crew, but better boarding crew. And you pretty much win the game from there. Because the Separatist and Defender, oh my god, that's insane to start with. A Separatist and a Defender. Like, that's all the blue options you need right there. Like, you don't need anything else. You got Anaerobic, you got Defender, you got NG, you got, what, like just all kinds of blue options. My god, the list goes on, but, yeah, nice. This is one of my personal favorite ships, actually. I should probably mention that. I'm biased, but I have enough playtime under my belt. Engineer A, human Engineer A. Probably C tier. It's probably B tier. I should say though, for Engineer A, the starting equipment cannot deal with 2 shield layers unless you get super lucky. But I'm not gonna expand on that. If you know what I mean by lucky, you know what I mean. But you only have a scythe beam and a conservative combat drone. So your scythe beam is slow. You have a combat drone to rely on your offense, which is unaimable and unreliable to use. I guess you do have drone arm to sell, as well as maybe like a manager or maintenance drone. So you can go gunship relatively soon, but it is a little. You can't if you get bad RNG without like weapon drops or just any kind of drops. Yeah, you're not gonna have a fun time. But anyways, the starting crew is nice though. 3 engineers. The engineers are just better humans. I mean, they're strictly better. They have more repair. They deal with fires easier. They what else? They're just humans but better. So. Engineer B is probably the same though. A boarding ship, except it's a shitty boarding ship. No medical system, which is fine, but 2-tile teleporter. You're gonna have to rely on your drone to heal for the early game, and you still have a human soldier, which okay, fine. Maybe human soldier kind of makes up for most of the shittery, but I don't know. I haven't had a good time on the ship. I mean, I've lost on it. Every time I've played it, I've either given up because I'm just angry or I lost. And again, I don't lose often, but I played the ship like maybe twice or so, and I lost both times because I don't know, the ship's kind of ass. I forgot what it starts with weapon wise, but I think it's like is it an energy cannon? It might be, but anyways, oh no, it's an energy stunner. That's right, an energy stunner. Engineer C though is probably the best out of them. Well, it is the best. It's kind of like NGB, except it's just better. NGB, like vanilla NGB. You still have a technician, the elite engineer, which is like a direct upgrade. You only get 6 crew capacity though, which is it's a little awkward, especially for like a regular human ship. But you get a burst laser 2, a stunner, and crew drones, the actual good crew drones, like manager, for example, and maintenance drone. Manager is actually pretty good. Maintenance drone you get rid of once you have more crew. But you also have clone bay, which clone bay, yeah, effective to say the least, especially with only 1 crew to work with. So, yeah, pretty strong ship. Just go gunship. That's it. Orchid Chieftain is another good example of a ship that has no downsides besides starting with no oxygen. You start with an elite Colonel Charger, which is insane border support. You have mind control, which is kind of a downside, but I don't know. I mean, it's not that big of a deal in my opinion. Orchid Chieftain boarding is pretty nice. Again, you don't have oxygen to start, which is kind of awkward, but I mean, you can, if it matters, you can install it. So I don't know about you, but it probably doesn't matter to me. Yeah, effective ship, boarding, mind control. Mind control's bad, but it's something, right? Alt Paladin, probably B tier. I'm getting to the point now. I'm like we're so far into this list, like, well, I don't know, 20, 30 into this list, but my voice is getting a little dry. But anyways, Paladin, what's a good way to describe the ship now? It's boarding. Did I say that right? Yeah, boarding. But you don't still have shield system, no cloaking even. But you have you have plus or advanced, like you can call it advanced divine plating, which resists 100% of all hull damage, except when it has guaranteed breach, or a breach rather. So if a weapon it's like, let's say for like a heavy laser, if a heavy laser fires and doesn't cause a breach, it does 0 hull damage. But if it fires and does cause a breach, it'll do damage to you. So you do paladin boarding. For some reason, I don't know why, but all paladin can actually get level 9 drones. Like normally it's capped to 8, like similar as like shields or weapons, but the all paladin can get level 9 drones. I don't know why, but it can. So I guess you can play drones. I don't know, maybe. What else is there to say about the ship? I forgot the starting. I think it's a Pegasus to start with. I'm not too sure, but yeah, the paladins are. I don't like them. I mean, they're probably fine, but I don't really like them that much. I've talked about them plenty of times before, so just scroll through any ship that revolves around rocks or paladins. You'll find out why I hate them. But no, sorry, not hate them. Like dislike them, I should say. I don't mind using them, but they're probably the weakest super elite. So, all MFK probably A tier. A lot of people might disagree with me, but I understand it. Yeah, okay. It's got the artillery that fires 3 missiles that never miss and do 3 hull damage each missile. But look at what we have in S tier. I mean, all MFK, at least on hard extreme, is not consistent. No shields, no cloaking, and the artillery is only level 3, and it's actually a long time to charge for level 3 at least. It's actually hard to play the ship, especially early game, because this missile isn't firing that often at level 3. You're taking hull damage before this missile is firing off and before it one-shots the ship. So you start with drone system, which is actually kind of bad because it reduces your playability with other systems, something like cloaking and hacking, or cloaking and this, and blah blah blah. But anyways, I mean, yeah, it snowballs and can win all kinds of runs and all kinds of endings, besides Nexus. But the early game, it's like Stealth B. It's actually just like vanilla Stealth B. If your glaive fires, yeah, you win the fight. But if the glaive doesn't fire and you die, well, that's just how the ship works, right? So, I don't know. I could probably play it sometime, but I don't like the ship that much, to be honest. Elite Rebel is an easy B tier. It's a wannabe boarding ship. Artillery plus boarding is a no-go. Just overall a no-go. Well, I mean, it's a little hypocritical for the Ancient B, but we're going to ignore that for now. 4-tile teleport, I guess, is fine. 2 human soldiers. A medic plus an engineer, along with the augment, which boosts your humans by 40% to the main stats, 30% less from aliens. So you're basically doing human boarding with 2 soldiers, respectable enough. But again, the artillery makes a little ass. So I don't know. It's probably an okay ship, but definitely not A tier. It's like as I said before, it's like a wannabe boarding ship. So. At least the artillery can be upgraded to level 5, so I guess the laser artillery isn't that shit, but again, if the artillery requires power for me to use it, I don't want to use it, so. I'm not going to rank this, by the way, the Pleasure flagship. I don't know why it's here, but anyway, it's a page 16 ship, so. The Elite Rock, the Crusader ship, probably 8, yeah, it's probably 8 here. So, it's a missile ship, which might sound a little weird, and it has no way of conserving ammo that well, which is doubly weird, except you have 75 missiles, like 75 ammunition. So you can transition away from missiles, but I don't blame you if you do stick to missiles for this ship, because you want to play missiles. It's just missiles are good. Missiles are strong. You want to use missiles. So yeah, I don't know. Into gunship, the starting crew is pretty good with 2 Crusaders, a rock, and I think a crystal. Maybe not. I don't know. Good ship. Definitely not immediately weak. I guess the problem would be the transition from missiles to lasers or some other non-missile. But besides that, it's pretty effective. It's definitely not like a Rock A ship. So, Radiant Cruiser, or the Elite Shell, probably A tier. It's a really, really strong gunship out the gates. It's got 2 layers of shields, anti-hull and Hermes, except you have no airlocks and you're restricted to level 1 O2 with 2 Radiants and a mechanic shell. Management, mechanic shell, you know. So, what you do for this ship, you do also start with botulinum. I forgot how you pronounce the gas, but it's an even more efficient toxic gas that does, I think, like 12 damage per second towards the enemies that aren't immune. Surprisingly enough, the ship is actually very effective for true ending, because I don't know, maybe the developers haven't noticed this yet, but the ancients, cognitives, and obelisks are not immune to the gas, you know, despite them being not organic at all. In fact, you know, it would probably make more sense if Lanius were affected by the gas, but they aren't. So, you know, why are obelisks weakened or weak to the gas? Who knows? What else is there for the ship? Oh yeah, I guess the level 102 can be a problem if you get a bunch of breaches and die, but if you don't, and you can get breach sealants, you can get crew, more crew. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty strong ship. This is like one of the only ships where like Cura is probably not even necessary. It helps, but not necessary. Cura is never really necessary, but Cura helps. Just, you know, Cura is Cura, so. Clairvoyant. Oh man, I want to put 8 here, but it's not consistent. It's just not. I'll put 8 here just because it's strong enough. You start with mind control, cloaking, hacking 3, mind control 2, cloaking 1, at the expense of shields. Like that's word by word. Like you get all these systems at the expense of shields. The older clairvoyant cruiser from like, I don't know, three or 4 updates ago, it could actually hull kill ships, and it was actually a stupid broken ship. But present day, like, you know, 5.3, it only has a phaser 2 and 2 anti-bio lasers, so it can't hull kill ships. It can crew kill them pretty well. It can't hull kill them though. You also start with highlight bypass, which is, you know, again, it's just a nice thing to start with. The downside is, obviously, it's a little hard to go gunship, because you need to, this is like one of the ships where I would keep 1 anti-bio laser, and I'd probably go rest of it gunship, because you can go 4 weapon slots in hacking, which actually allows you to use 1 weapon dedicated to crew killing. And a crew kill laser, it's no power efficient anti-lance, but it's a weapon you can use. What else is there for the ship? I don't know. It's effective. Pretty good elite. Gunship, obviously, because you're gonna spend your last system slot getting shields. And, well, I don't know. Not consistent enough to be an S tier, but good enough, you could say. Alt Peacekeeper is probably A tier as well. What should I say for this ship? No medical system, and your Zoltan Peacekeepers have overclocking, so that's a little spooky for the early game. Well, before you get a medical system. The one main downside I will say for the ship, well, there's 2 downsides. You have no reactor. You only have your Zoltan power. and you only have energy weapons. And the problem with energy weapons is that, yeah, okay, the ion weapons and they deal hull damage, but you need system damage is you need system damage. You can't just only do ion damage. So you need something to replace the energy cannons. You use energy cannons as long as you can, obviously, but eventually you transition to something that does system damage. But you do start with Aether Shields, though. Aether Shields allowing you to, well, get Aether upgrades and just use an Aether Shield. Pretty good. Not amazing, but pretty good. Federation A, probably C tier. Yeah, C tier. It's identical to Federation A from Vanilla, except, I guess a little bit stronger, maybe. Your artillery starts at level 2, so it's not the end of the world. You have an anti-hull 2, which is just like which is basically like equivalent of a burst laser 2 from Vanilla, for the Federation cruiser at least. Your starting crew is pretty good though. Zoltan, NG, Human, Orchid. Orchid and NG are probably the best, but you know, I don't know. It doesn't make up for the fact that the ship is really offensively weak, and the artillery. Not only is it shit artillery, but artillery takes up a system slot, so. You know, yeah, just adds on to that. Adds on to the bullshit. Federation B probably still C tier. A bit more reliable, but mine launches. That's all I gotta say. Just mine launches. I mean, I guess it would probably be one of the worst ships in the game if both your mine launches costed missiles. But thank God you have one recycler mine launcher plus your artillery, which might come in clutch 1 or 2 fights. But yeah, if you had 2 ammo consuming weapons for Federation B, it would literally just be an RNG ship. Like, if you don't get like a weapon from your salvage mission at the start of your run, you would pretty much just restart your run until you get that. But since it does have the recycler mine launcher, it's okay enough to keep. Okay enough to keep in C tier, so. But yeah, I mean, my run with it was okay, but that was a pretty lucky run, like in hindsight. So, Federation C as well is another C tier. I don't know. I guess it's, I mean, better than the other Federation ships, but definitely not B tier. I mean, if Elite Rebels in B tier, I mean, where's Federation standing at, right? You know, if you don't draw the line somewhere, how the hell you know where you stand? So. It's just C tier. I mean, I guess it's got a bit more gear to sell off immediately between extinguishers. The starting crew is actually not too bad. The commando is a little weird, but you know, commando is gonna be commando. So, how long have I been going? Okay, I'm actually making pretty decent time. Not too bad, but I could probably pick up the pace a little. Anyways, flagship A. I'm considering not ranking this, but I will just because it's, I don't know, I've been playing the flagship cruisers on my channel, so I'll rank it. Probably C tier. The run I upload with this, you'll see why. It's, oh god, I hate teleporter and medbay and no border support. Like, those 3 things combined, oh my god, I hate it so much. I mean, it's mostly medbay and no border support, but my god, medbay is so weak. Holy shit, I just can't stand it. Flagship B is probably B tier. At least if you're gonna gunship, Flagship B does it okay enough. You can play around drones pretty well, like the run I did with it, with the Harbinger drones. And you do keep the 3 artilleries that are actually effective enough. So yeah, pretty okay ship. Weak, obviously, but not too bad. Flagship A though is probably S tier. You keep the 2 artilleries that actually matter. You can have a weapon system to not only run weapons, but also boost up your artilleries even further using the performance upgrades. You have cloaking, which is a huge upgrade compared to the other 2 variants. And you also have a hidden augment that gives you the boss's super shield, the 12 hit points, I believe. It's like 11 or 12 hit points, one of those 2. But Yeah, pretty good ship. I would put it A tier, but I think it is good enough for S tier. Just barely though, just barely. Free Mantis is an easy S tier. A tier. No weapons to start, med bay, but you get Free Mantis plus medic boarding along with mind control. Mind control is weird, but I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm a little too harsh on mind control, but it's, I don't know. I feel like for Free Mantis A, it's for some reason for like Mantis A, it's Free Mantis A, it's actually decently helpful, so it can be there for now. Free Mantis B. Yeah, fuck it. It can be S tier. It's basically like Free Mantis A, except you don't get mind control. Good thing. Don't start with shields. A bit stinky. But you get cloaking. Another good thing. You get Pegasus. Good, because it's, you know, boar support that others wouldn't have. And it's a 2-tower teleporter, but you get a Warlord and a Free Mantis. So, yeah, that's pretty good. You get shields, you get Clone Bay, and you win. Free Mantis C is the same way. No cloaking. You start with a kind of a weak reactor as well as system levels, but you do start with a Clone Bay as well as Zoltan shields and multiple shits to sell, like the Zoltan deleter and the chainer, the laser chainer. I mean, you can keep the laser chainer as long as you can, but the Zoltan deleter you get rid of. Oh, excuse me. Ghostbuster, Spook Chaser, probably B tier as well. Not as well, but you know, B tier. It snowballs well. You can sell off your useless gear, such as like the anti-personnel drone and the life form scanner. You can keep the pelter beam, although I wouldn't recommend it. Stunner 2 is a bit of a weak weapon. You can replace that with like something like a regular laser, and just do a gunship build. Cultist B is basically just a weaker Cultist A, just much weaker, actually, like significantly weaker, but yeah, it plays the same way. It's got weaker weapons, much weaker crew. Ocular Portal, I guess Ocular Portal does sell for a decent amount of scrap, so maybe not the worst, but I don't like it. Spook Chaser C is probably A tier though. Weird-ish early game, but you start with 2 elites, technician and soldier, as well as a medic and a regular human, I believe. But you start with the MV drive hacker, which you're not going to use, obviously, but you start with battery beam and adaptive phaser. A battery beam allowing you to run really, really high power weapon setups for much cheaper power costs. So, yeah, pretty good ship. If you get proper weapons, you, again, like the common theme of this entire list is that consistency is key. So, get weapons and you win. Also, Clone Bay is pretty nice to have to start. Guardian A is probably A tier. Purifier is a really good ancient weapon. Atomizer allows you to crew kill early on. Yeah, probably pretty good ship overall, I'd say. Guardian B is probably B tier. Erratic early game. Don't start with shields. Don't even start with super shields. You have cloaking though, and you have resistant rooms in the rooms that do matter. So I guess it kind of whatchamacallit. It kind of balances itself out. It's a weak ship for sure, but it's not absolutely that weak. And the Harbinger drone is still a really nice addition. Guardian C though is probably S tier. It's cloaking, boarding, aether shields, cognitive crew, and carnage missile. So the strat for this ship obviously is like some kind of augmented boarding, maybe even cognitive boarding along with mobile batteries, the lab upgrade, and yeah, strong ship. All of the Guardian variants with sensors allow you to get like anomaly detector very early on because they have like sensors 3 or sensors 2, so it's pretty quickly to get like an LOS that just makes the ship that much better. Plus Aether Shield is Aether Shield. Hacker A is probably B tier. Starting with defense scrambler and hacking is good, although you always for the first few fights, you have to hack shields because your Lucerne beam doesn't, go through one layer of shield. You can sell off Neural Disruptor though to get like another 30ish, 20ish scrap. And you can get like a regular weapon that doesn't always require you to hack shields. So in that regard, yeah, it's. I think you start with, is it 3 crew? I think it's 3 crew. Yeah. Wait, no, it's 2. It is 2 crew. Yeah, it's a saboteur and a regular slug. So kind of weird, but oh well. Hacker B is probably A tier. It's pretty much got it provides the same benefits as the slot A, except it's got boarding with the saboteur and the siren. Siren is weird to play. You want to really use it for boarding, surprisingly enough. The lockdown bomb is better than nothing if you have, ship boarding. And starting with hacking and defense scramble again is pretty nice. Hacker C is probably one of the worst ships. Yeah, it's probably D tier. It's basically slot A, just much worse. Just by a long shot, much worse. Not much to say for the ship. It's just worse. I mean, you got particle beam instead of Lucerne. The particle beam is so much slower. Have to hack shields. Your crew is weaker. Yeah, it's a pretty nasty ship to play. Nasty ship. Hector A, probably A tier. It's a make your own gunship ship. Not much to say for this ship. Just snowball. Hacker B is probably about the same as well. It's a make your own gunship, but you start with hacking as well as slow-ish hacked weapons, or with the beam and the ion, but it kind of makes up for the I don't know, the properties of it. Hector C is S tier, obviously. 2 missiles, one of them with accuracy, the other one with no mods, but you have explosive replicator. So you have 3 augment slots filled up, but you internalize explosive replicator sooner than later. And what else to say for this ship? Oh yeah, I guess this is like one of the best Nexus ships because obviously well, accuracy mod. You basically all you gotta do for this ship is just find a sail sector, and then get Aether Tech and get your systems, and like basically just a go-to Nexus ship. Kestrel A is probably C tier. Burst, it's like Spectral A, Dynasty A, like how we talked about in rank B, except it's only got the Burst Laser 3 and the Reloader. So it's slow. You only got the Burst 3 to work with, and you don't have much else going for you. I guess the Kestrel Cruiser, though, I think it gets, what, is it 12 or 11? I think it's 11. 11 crew capacity is pretty respectable, so I guess, benefit of the doubt, definitely not D tier, but, I mean, if Spectral A is in B tier, and Kestrel C is a downgrade from Spectral A, then why would it be in the same tier, so. Kestrel B, definitely D tier. It's a significantly worse vanilla Kestrel B. I don't want to talk about it. It makes me so angry to play it, but, it's the way it is. Kestrel C, though, is probably A tier for sure. Clone Bay, Cloaking, Teleporter, Human Soldier, Medic, Burst Laser, Shield Buffer. I think I mentioned Clone Bay already, so. Yeah, pretty good, strong ship. The 2 tower teleporter is a little awkward, but definitely not too bad. Especially, what you have. You also start with low friction suits, which you can sell off to get even, like a 30 scrap head start, which is also a nice thing to have. Black Raven is probably B tier. Weird ship to play, but I guess it kind of like not really encourages you to go Cloaking 5 with stealth weapons. Momus is an insanely strong weapon, and Burst 1 is, I guess, it's fine. You basically get shields for the ship and just do a gunship. 15 hull is a little sketchy, but overall it's definitely not too shit. What's this called? What am I brain farting? It's a Black Raven or Knighted B, probably A tier. It's got 2 Firestar lasers, extinguishers which you can sell, and mind control, along with a knight, a commando, and a ranger. I think that's right. But yeah, the description of the ship says that you can't track where your fires are, but that's a lie. because you can use your mind control to see where the fires are, as well as the telepathic slugs to see where the fires are being extinguished to begin with. So it's basically a ship that starts with 4 shots, mind control, and slug crew. As long as it's extinguished, we can sell off pretty much right away. If you get shields too, you're sitting pretty nicely. Very respectable gunship. Knighted Sea though is really, it's a very, very weird ship. I feel like out of all these ships you can get accustomed to, Knighted Sea is probably like one of the weirdest ships to play. It's boarding, clone bay, no shields, no cloaking, and it's a saboteur, a monk, and a wraith. Like that's a really, really awkward combo, but you know, people do what they do, so. I guess it has an energy efficient halberd, so I don't know. Maybe if you just forget the boarding shit and just do gunship, probably fine, but yeah. Lanius A is kind of similar to the Elite Swarm, but weaker, obviously. Medbay, hacking, flak. Respectable ship. No oxygen, but you can sell off respirators, so. I don't know, definitely not too bad. Lanius B is weaker. I guess the titanium system casing to keep is fine. Starting with a ghoul and 2 Lanius is kind of poopy though. Well, the ghoul is pretty not good. The toggle flak is super bad-ish early game, but I guess if you have nothing else to use, you use it. Intruder drone sells for a lot though, so the strat for that ship is you go to the store, sell off your toggle flak and your intruder as well as your respirators, and maybe get better weapons. Lanius C is probably it's S tier for sure. It's like Lanius A, but just flat better. It starts with O2 though, but you get welder plus Lanius boarding. Well, welder and a regular Lanius boarding. Clone bay and some weapons to sell off. I think it's like a light laser and an advanced healer, if I'm remembering correctly, but yeah. Pretty good ship. Leech A, probably B tier. You can go gunship, but you kind of don't want to. Leech's crew, as crew, I could say, is, again, it's not good. Boarding ship, but with leeches, so I don't know, B tier. Leech B is obviously a C tier. Probably even D tier, but I guess C tier just because in theory, it's fine. It's just like A, except significantly worse. Do you even still have cloaking? I can't even remember if you still have cloaking or not, but anyways, you have beam weapons that do not pierce any shields, so you have to board shields just to start dealing damage with your beams. And you only get the elite leech plus the regular leech, so it's 2 crew versus 3 crew from Leech A, so it's a downgrade. Leech C though is definitely A tier. It's like Leech A except just stronger. 2 Talon teleport is a little weird, it's a little awkward. We do get backup DNA with Clone Bay, hacking, some weapons to sell off. No shields, but you can make up for that pretty fast. Cloaking, which is always pretty good to have as well. Respectable ship. Definitely not too bad. Get rid of your leeches for something better. Lost Sun A is probably A tier as well. No venting, obviously, which makes it a little sketchy. But you have a 1 power, 3 damage Hades missile, which is, it's a little silly to say the least. It works though. Commando boarding is fun sometimes. But yeah, my Lost Sun Cruiser A run was pretty good. So if you want to check out that video, yeah. Lost Sun B is pretty similar, and Lost Sun C is actually Lost Sun B is like identical. It's just instead of a Hades, you got a Frost Laser, and instead of 4 Tower Teleporter, you get 2 Tower Teleporter with a Commando, a Rock, and a Crystal. So a bit weaker on the boarding side, but I feel like not as awkward to play. And Lost Sun C is C tier because it's similar to like QRC, similar to NGA. You're relying on your drones. I guess it does. It is a pretty good, like a Sylvan whore though. Wait, am I allowed to say that word? Okay. Anyways, if you go to Sylvan, you can get rid of like you have 25 drone pots to start. You can get rid of 15. You can sell off your useless drones. You can get actual weapons and just do a gunship build. So I don't know about B tier. Sorry, not C tier. B tier. Definitely not too bad, but it can be a rack to play. Mantis A. Yeah, probably A tier. The reason why it's A tier is, I guess it's a pretty brain dead ship. It's like identical to Mantis A in vanilla, except you have a 4-tile teleporter now. Instead of 3 Mantis, you have 2 Mantis, but that can be made up pretty quickly. Mantis B is definitely B tier. Mantis B is actually one of my favorite ships, like probably my third or fourth favorite ship. But I can see why it's definitely not a consistent ship. You only have bombs to start. You have a recycler mod. Weirdest ship to play. I actually did a challenge run a long time ago with this ship where I used only bombs. I mean, I won the game using a beam drone, but you know, weapons wise, only bombs, which ended up being like triple breach bomb and 1 recycler bomb. So yeah, that was a pretty fun run. But yeah, Mantis B anyway. If you go gunship, you win. Recycler mod kind of helps, but you want to only use between all your bombs you're using. You only want to use the breach bomb and the recycler bomb. The crew kill potential is good though. I will say that. Mantis C is probably same as Mantis A. Again, you get the ghoul, which is it's weird. You don't want the ghoul. You have Clombe though, which is always nice. Pre-torch which actually works for the starting gimmick, but eventually you do want to eventually get rid of pre-torch. It's not going to help you for that much longer. It also sells for 50 scrap, which is, 50 scrap you otherwise wouldn't have. So management shell management A, probably B tier. It's a gunship, but less reliable. The nanite gas is actually pretty good though. I probably underestimate it, but again, it's a really weird gunship, and having only mechanic shells to prepare it's not good, especially for scary fights. Management B, on the other hand, is probably one of the best ships. 3-tile teleporter. Start with a Caesarean. You can sell off pheromone dispersal. You have a regular mantis as well. Your med base starts right next to your teleporter, but again, you can go get Clone Bay anyway. But I guess it's better than having the med bay across the other side of the ship. So yeah, it's a boarding ship that actually starts out well. So Management C, probably another B tier. No shields, cloaking, halberd, heavy, repair bot dispersal. Just get shields and get another weapon besides the heavy laser, and you're pretty good to go. MFK A, probably A tier. Not much to explain for that. It's double MFK boarding. If you do use both MFKs. Charge laser is an okay weapon to start. Not amazing, but it's better than nothing. MFK B is probably another S tier for sure. 6 crew slots is weird. Starting with 1 MFK also is a little weird. We have backup DNA, you have Clone Bay, you have many bombs as well as a laser to sell off, which is very nice for a scrap head start. And again, the 6 crew slots is a little weird, especially for a human ship, but it works. MFKC, another really, really strong ship, S tier for sure. You start with 4 super elites, MFK, an angel, a knight, and a paladin. You board with your knight, your MFK, and your, your angel. Oh, also all the MFK variants start with respirators and shield charge booster. You sell off shield charge booster. And respirators, most of the time you sell off, but for something like MFKA, you might want to keep it. And MFKC, you obviously never keep it, so. It starts weak though, no shield system, 3 reactor power, cloaking, Clone Bay, but obviously a band of super elites that can take on the multiverse, as the description of the ship says. Militia A is a gunship. Militia B is a drone ship that turns into a gunship, and Militia C is another gunship that starts out very, very strong. I'm going fast now because, you know, we're almost 2 hours, so, you know. And besides, these are gun. If you see the ships, you're gonna know what I'm talking about. They're gunships, so, you know, it's just how it works. Monk A, B tier. Not amazingly consistent, but I had a good run with it. I mean, obviously it's gonna be a good one. I had a Sector 2 recovery site, but augmented sector, so child's play. Monk B probably C tier. Monk C probably C tier. These two are like identical in the way they play. Morph probably C tier. Morph B definitely D tier. Morph C probably F tier. Nah, it'll be fine. It's okay, D tier, fine. All of the Morph cruisers follow the exact same liability. They are awful starting ships. Absolutely awful. They have low system levels. They aren't reliable just in the way they play. And obviously Morph B doesn't even work half the time. Morph B has like some like bug or whatever where you don't even start with all your crew drones. So, you know, if you don't have your ion intruder, you don't have your manager or your your doctor drone, the ship doesn't work. You can't use the ship. So, anyways, Proto MV is probably it's probably B tier. This is A tier for sure, and this is probably B-ish tier. Yeah, it's probably same level as Proto MV A. Proto MVB is it's just a better overall. It's got an easier gimmick to work with. I don't know, not much to say for it. Proto MVA, while a lot of people might say, oh, it's a really awkward ship to play with, it's actually not too bad. I mean, one system damage to your engines plus 1 hull damage is definitely a little weird to play with, but it's Aether Tech, Aether Drive, and your weapons, in theory, can kill any ship in the game. So, in theory. You want better weapons, but in theory, the Phase 2 with the mini beam is pretty good. Alright, this is what I was talking about earlier with my repeats, by the way. I don't know how this happened. I just overlooked it. MV Rebel, probably B tier. Halberd, Ion, plus a combat drone. You know, enough to take care of 2 shields, obviously, but the combat drone's a little weird to play, and the Halberd is slow, but effective enough. MV Civilian, probably A tier. MV Imperial, or Crystal, A. MV Spectral A, MV Augmented A for S for sure. Kestrel, probably B. Federation, probably C. I mean, it's identical to these other ships. And Stealth, probably B as well. NG, probably A tier. Yeah, probably A tier for sure. MV Rebel B. Flak. The flak ship that's got a flak 1 and a flak drone. Probably B tier. This is definitely A tier. The MV Rebel C. If it's now this is why it's inconsistent. I know I'm going against my own benchmarks here, but it's actually really effective if you get a weapon that goes through shields without the use of the drone. Like my run ahead with the ship, for example, when I got like the flak. Like, even if I didn't get the flak, even if I just got like a 2-shot weapon, that with 2 mini beams, that's really spicy against the enemy. Orchid, probably A tier. It's Orchid ship that uses Colonel. It's got Colonel Greenhouse, so it's a missile ship right off the bat, and it's a reliable missile ship. So, Orchid B, Gathering B, whatever you want to call it, probably the same. You much more likely to crew kill as often, but I don't know. I'm kind of running out of time here because I'm tired, and you know, we've been at this for 2 hours, so. Anyways, yeah, I guess the Elite Colonel 2 is actually pretty good. The Rancier allows for some crew kills early on. You do get rid of it, obviously, but I don't know. Orchid C is definitely B tier. It's just an Orchid ship that starts weaker. So I guess solar panels sells for a good amount of scrap. Chain kernel obviously sells for a good amount of scrap. You get another weapon besides the heavy and you're good to go. Chieftain and Lanius is actually pretty nice for blue options. So Osmine A, probably C tier. Yeah. C tier, D tier for sure. Actually, maybe it's B tier. I don't know. Maybe this is just the heavy ion with the scythe can't do much against 2 shields. Actually, yeah, for that reason, it's actually gonna be C tier for sure. But yeah, the gimmick of it doesn't work. You don't want to use Osmines. I mean, they're fine, but you don't want to use them. Outcast, probably A tier. The crew space is a little weird, but the Outcast crew themselves are actually kind of strong. 3-tower teleporter with an autonomous missile as border support. Very, very nice. Outcast B, probably C tier. 6-tower teleporter, which you're never going to use. You're not going to use 6 crew to board anyway. Did I play this ship? Yeah, I've definitely played this ship. I just didn't record it, I don't think. You get 2 weapon slots. You don't start off weapon system, I should mention. If you don't start off drones, so you're only gonna be boarding. You don't even have clone base, so yeah, pretty erratic ship to play early on. Outcast C, though, on the other hand, is definitely an A tier ship, identical to the A variant, except you have no medical system to start. But you do have reconstructed teleport as well as an Orchid, as well as an Ares missile, which is really, really good border support. So yeah, I would put it S tier, but there are liabilities with it, obviously, that you can't really avoid. Like for one example, the rock crew can't really do much on their own. Well, the outcasts at least, so. Paladin A is definitely an A tier ship. It's got Paladin boarding with an Artemis. No shields, but cloaking. I guess 2 Paladins and a Crusader is kind of bad at repairing and ship side, but otherwise it's a very solid ship. We're not going to talk about this ship. And this is probably B tier ship. Yeah, actually no, it's probably A tier. Once you get better boarding crew besides the Paladins. Peacekeeper A, probably B tier. 2 locked augments is super, super annoying, but otherwise the ship itself is moderately fine. Peacekeeper B, though, is definitely A tier. Peacekeeper C is probably B tier as well. Peacekeeper C is a much better gunship compared to the other 2. But, well, Peacekeeper B is boarding. Peacekeeper A is just being a boarding, so. Yeah. I don't know. I guess Peacekeeper B, maybe it could be B tier still, but I don't know. I feel like the boarding without any kind of weird gimmicks going on is probably the best you can do for a boarding ship. Plus a Peacekeeper, a Mantis, and a Commando aren't too bad for starting crew. Pleasure A, probably B tier. Pleasure B, probably A tier, because it's basically Pleasure A, except no shields, and you do get Cloaking 3 as well as a Phaser, which is something more that the Pleasure A does not have. This is probably C tier, though, the Pleasure C. It's Pleasure A, but just weaker, and again, Vagabonds. You don't want to use Vagabonds at all. Just use Phantoms. Just use any other crew. Just don't use Vagabonds, or Spiders, or Horses. And, you know, speaking of horses, this is probably an A tier ship. No, B tier ship. I guess starting with Ellie is actually kind of nice. Another B tier for sure. This is probably A tier. 2 locked augments is kind of ass, but Storyteller augment is actually really good. And horse boarding as is I guess it's fine enough. We will transition to a better boarding party, but also the fact that it can become an auto cruiser even if all your crew are dead is pretty nice. You know, it's like a gunship in disguise. Rebel cruiser is probably B tier. B tier, not C tier. Rebel cruiser CB is also, they're identical in the playstyle, and Rebel cruiser C is A tier. This is the strongest variant. Rhyme cruiser is obviously A tier. Rhyme B is, no explanation needed for that one. Rhyme C is A tier. Yeah, A tier. Reason why it's not S tier is because Rhymes is cool and all, but Rhymes doesn't get it all done by himself. So, you know. Rock A, probably B tier. Rock B, probably A tier. Rock C, definitely C tier. Divine, an armor plating that eventually becomes divine plating isn't good. You don't want to wait and spend more scrap to get armor when you can just get shields and a better gunship to begin with, you know. Sodium A is probably B tier. Sodium B, probably C tier. And Sodium C is obviously A tier. Boarding ship, crew kill ship, but there's a shit job at crew killing, so, you know. Scientist A is probably B tier. Scientist C is another B tier. Scientist... Did I say Scientist C? No, Scientist B. What am I thinking? Yeah, Scientist B is definitely B tier. Scientist C is probably A tier. Double Guardians are pretty nice if you get Clone Bay and Teleporter. Until then, though, it's a B tier ship. But, you know, eventually it's nice. Separatist A is probably B tier. It's a shit gunship, but a gunship that does snowball. Separatist B is a C tier, and Separatist C is probably A tier. Separatist C is basically Separatist A, but you just have more gear. So, you know, Teleporter, whatchamacallit, the boarding drone to help. Clone Bay, well, I guess they all start off Clone Bay, but Clone Bay with the Teleporter helps. Stun Bomb, which is a pretty shit weapon. I mean, border support if you have absolutely nothing else, but the Pierce Laser is a pretty nice weapon. Shell A, Genocracy A, I guess you can call it. It's probably B tier. Easy S, A. Easy A as well. Slug A, probably one of the more controversial ones, but I feel like this is definitely an S tier. Here's why. This is by far the best crew killing ship that doesn't need to be boarding. Two power efficient anti-lancers. They charge in 8 seconds, pierce 2 shields, 60 crew damage each, so in one shot's 120 HP crew. And the chain laser is an okay weapon. It's ass because it's chaining, but my god, the crew kills of the ship can be so absurdly rewarding. Slug B on the other hand is probably B tier. I don't know. I don't like it. Slug C, while it's my favorite ship, it's not good. I like the ship, but it's not good. So it's not much to say for the ship itself. Prototype A is very, very good though. It's probably it's the strongest variant of the prototypes. Two tower teleporter along with pirate crew that you can roll like Vamp Reeds or Free Mantis, even Shells if you're ambitious. The starting augments are pretty nice to sell off with the hijacked frequencies, the missile, the bio laser, and then I forgot the other thing, but whatever. Good ship. Prototype B is probably B tier. Good ship though in the circumstance you use its gimmick. The Rebel Lore, for example. Rebel Lore allowing you to track down rebel elites and steal their shit, like their weapon. So it lets you be a gunship pretty effectively. Starting with an anti-hull and a mine launcher is a little sketchy, but good enough, I'd say, for B tier for sure. Definitely not C tier. And Prototype C is probably B tier. Actually, no, it's definitely C tier. Never mind. What am I talking about? Only starting with Adaptive Beam, Repair Bomb, and a magnetic payload fabricator, which you're never going to use. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is almost a D tier worthy ship, but my run with it was obviously it gets uploaded tomorrow, actually. A Nexus run with it. Is it tomorrow? Maybe it's the 31st. Whatever. Fine ship, I guess, but the Suari is painful to use. Spider Hunter is probably B tier. I don't like spiders, you know this already. Even though it's still a fine ship, just don't use Spider Crew. Spider C though is definitely a tier ship. No, Spider B is an A tier ship. It's basically Spider A, except, hey, you can use spiders that aren't shit, so, you know, something. Spider C, though, is probably about B tier as well. I used to think Spider C was better than Spider B, but, I don't know. Spider C is a gunship. Spider B is a crew kill ship that starts with morphs, so, I don't know. I feel like Spider B stands a better chance than Spider C does in the early game. Plus, Spider C's equipment really sucks ass. It's a charge energy and a torch beam. I guess you have drones to sell off, but you know, don't. Again, it's the same principle. Don't use spiders. Just don't use them. SSGL, probably 8 B tier. SSGL is probably another A tier. Wait, no. This ship here. The A variant is A tier. The Shard mine launcher not using missiles is actually pretty decent, although it's still a mine launcher that you'll eventually sell off. I guess starting with a mine control is okay. No airlocks on your ship, which is a little. I feel like I'm saying this word a bit, but it's sketchy. You know, you want airlocks. You don't want to be able to get fucked over by boarders. So, not Shard Storm, but that's the name of the ship. But SSGLC is probably B tier ship. You don't want to play with the gimmick of the ship. You want to go gunship and just win the game like a normal person. Stealth A is probably C tier though. Stealth B. It's like Stealth A, but just better, so. And then Stealth C is, well, just a variant of Stealth B. Suzerain is. I mean, it's better than the Mantis cruiser, obviously. The Hive cruiser, so it's the same tier, if not higher, but probably not S material. This, Suzerain B, erratic, inconsistent. But if you get shields and you get better border support, it's on par with A. As well as the C variant. Sylvan A, probably A tier. And this is a meme ship, Sylvan C. This is Sylvan boarding with Clone Bay, so let's put it up here actually. Technician, you don't play the gimmick, you go gunship. You actually have a lot at the sell off. You actually have your sentry turrets, a boarding drone, I think, as well as I think there's one augment. Is there? Maybe not, but it's probably B tier. Technician B is also like the same, except it's got just a different story to it. More shit to sell, so a bit better, but you can't hull kill ships, so a bit weaker in the beginning. But the crew kill is up there. Technician A is definitely A tier though. I mean, it's boarding. You have shit to sell off. You can use your technician drones to board. You know, before people, when they designed the ship, they expected the players to board with a technician crew. But you don't even have to board with the technicians. All you can do is like have them all deploy the drone, have the drones go into teleporter room and just send the drones over. You don't even have to send over the crew. So, you know. Retail A. It's a gunship, so I don't know. You start with merchant beacon and 2 nebulous gases, which both sell for 50. Yeah. Gunship, obviously. Welfare, retail B. The welfare is the name of the ship. D tier. A boarding ship without a medical system. Doomed to fail. All you gotta do is go gunship, and you just don't get that weakened by it, I suppose. Retail C, though, is probably one of the best ships. Clone Bay, backup DNA, 2 shields, merchant beacon, leeches, which stink, but again, I guess leeches with the Clone Bay get a bit more value, so something. Tuco A is the one with pre-igniter, but shit weapons, so I'll put B tier. Tuco B, probably A tier. Another A tier for sure. Now the final stretch, the 3 Zoltan ships. Zoltan A is just like a vanilla. Is actually identical to vanilla. The only difference is that you have charge energy and your Zoltan shield is locked. Zoltan B, weird-ish gimmick, but Actually, pretty good. I had a fun time with the ship. If you get shields early enough, it's actually a pretty good ship. You have energy cannon and a chain laser, and enough gear to get a shield system. So definitely not too shit. Zoltan C is an interesting gimmick, but B tier because it's just a flat. It's a debuff from A. I guess EMP field with emergency battery, emergency generator, is good, but again, like if the gimmick is inferior to the average playstyle, you don't want to use the gimmick. So, you know. I believe we're done here. Yeah, these are ranked to these already, and this is the Pleasure flagship. So let's just quickly before I wrap this up, let's just go through it. So yeah, you know, as compared to the last time, this was longer, just as longer, but I'm not tired, so I feel confident in this list. So in S tier we got Cell B, Cell C, Alt Knight, Revolutionary C, Obelisk B, Ancient B, no, Augmented B, Crystal C, Elite Federation, NGC, Chieftain Cruiser, the Elite Orchid, Rhyme Cruiser B, Flagship B, C, Mantis, Free Mantis B, Free Mantis C, Guardian Cruiser C, Hector C, Lanius C, Management B, MFK B, MFK C, a Multiverse Augmented, Slug A, Sylvan Cruiser B, and Retail B, C. And then A, we have Ancient A, Ancient C, Angel A, Augmented C, Bishop A, Bishop C, Brood C, Cell A, Civilian B, Guild A, Coalition A, Coalition B, Crystal B, Crystal, not Crystal, Cultist B. Yes, yeah, it's getting late, in theory. Kira B, Dustbringer B, Dustbringer A, Spectral C, Alt Bishop, Sentinel Cruiser, the Elite Crystal, New Order Cruiser, the Elite Dustbringer, Spectral, the Cruising Reaper, Harmony Elite, Harmony I guess, Warlord Cruiser, Vagabond Cruiser, Swarm, the Elite Lanius, the Ampere Cruiser, Alt Caesarian, EDC, Engineer C, Alt MFK, Crusader, wait, is it Alt Crusader? Oh yeah, it is. It is Crusader, okay. Radiant Cruiser, Clairvoyant Cruiser, Peacekeeping, Alt Peacekeeping, Free Mantis A, Spook Chaser C, Guardian A, Hacker B, Hector A, Hector B, Kestrel C, Knighted B, Multiversal Civilian, Lanius A, Leech C, Lost Sun A, Lost Sun B, Mantis A, Mantis C, MFK A, Militia C, Proto MVB, Multiversal Imperial, Multiversal Spectral, Multiversal Harmony, Multiversal Rebel C, Orchid A, Orchid B, Outcast A, Outcast C, Paladin A, Paladin C, Peacekeeping B, Pleasure B, Econoid C, Rebel C, Rhyme A, Rhyme C, Rock B, Sodium C, Scientist C, Separatist C, Shell B, Shell C, Prototype A, Spider B, right? Oh, yeah, Spider B, SSGL B, SSGL A, Caesarian B, Caesarian C, Sylvan's Cruiser A, Technician C, Retail A, Tuco B, Tuco C, Zoltan A, Zoltan B. And then from B tier we got Revolutionary A, Revolutionary B, Angel C, no, Angel B, Angel C, Auto Cruiser A, B and C, Bishop A, no, Bishop B, Brood B, Civilian A, Civilian C, Guild B, Guild C, Crystal A, Cultist A, Cultist C, Innovation A, Innovation C, Dustspringer B, Dustspringer C, Spectral A, Spectral B, Elite Coalition, NGA, NGB, Engineer A, Engineer B, Alt Paladin, Elite Rebel, Flagship B, Spook Chaser, Guardian B, Hacker A, Black Raven A, or Knighted A, Lanius B, Leech A, Lost Sun C, Mantis B, Management A, Management C, Militia A, Militia B, Monk A, Prototype MVA, Prototype MVC, Multiversal Rebel A, Multiversal Kestrel, Multiversal Stealth, Multiversal Rebel B, Orchid C, Peacekeeping A, Peacekeeping C, Pleasure A, Equinoid A, Equinoid B, Rebel A, Rebel B, Rock A, Sodium A, Scientist A, Scientist C, B, Separatist A, Shell A, Slug B, Prototype B, Spider A, Spider C, SSGL C, Stealth B, Stealth C, Technician A, Technician C, Technician B, Tuco A, and Zoltan C. And then in C tier we got Brood A, Federation A, B, and C, Flagship A, Spook Chaser B, Kestrel A, Knighted C, Leech B, Monk B and C, Morph A, Federation, Multiversal Federation, Osmane B, Osmane A, Outcast A, Pleasure C, Lock C, Sodium B, Separatist B, Slug C, Prototype C, and Stealth A. And then in D tier we got Coalition C, Hacker C, Kestrel B, Morph B, Morph C, Osmane C, and Retail C, B, E. And then finally in F tier, which I actually didn't think there was. I thought there'd be like 3 or so ships, but like at the very most. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm being too generous to maybe a couple of these D tier ships, but Paladins B and, well, I mean, it's not really an F tier, but it's a meme ship. You're not going to practically use it, so Sylvan C. And that's pretty much the list. I mean, yeah, that is the list. That was a lot of ships, and yeah, I guess I feel confident about this list. I mean, I guess maybe I can move these a couple spots, maybe, like, I guess maybe Angel down, Engineer down, maybe this one down, because I had a good run with this one, so I'm biased again. But, you know, all that beside, I feel pretty confident about this. If you have any questions, obviously, ask me in the comments, please. I droned this video out for 2 hours and 30 minutes. I definitely don't expect anyone to watch the whole thing and get it all in one take. So yeah, if you have any questions about these rankings, please ask me. You know, especially the S tier, which I feel, you know, I'm you know, a little biased on, because of, you know, what do all these ships have in common besides Elite Federation and this one, right? And they're all boarding. So, well, this one too, but. And this one. Okay, fine. They're all strong. Let's just call it a day there. So, that's it then. I hope you enjoyed. If you watched it this far, I applaud you for even wanting to watch this much. And if you enjoyed the list, you know, obviously give me a like. If you want more voiceover videos, also tell me about that. You know, I'll be happy to do like a commentary run within time, of course. But you know, as of right now, yeah, it's getting a little late. I've been talking for 2 hours and 30 minutes now, and yeah, so I hope you enjoyed the list, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys around for other runs, and maybe even I might even show my voice a bit more often. We'll see. Take care, and have a good day. Goodbye.